Hi, Ray Hayden here, and this video is the update on those two little rabbits that I found out there in the overgrown field. I'm talking about a couple things in this video, primarily why I'm not making this video out there in the overgrown field at this particular point, but I'm also going to, explain what happened to those little rabbits. Right to the bottom line, they did not make it. They expired anywhere between overnight or the very next morning. The second one passed away in my hand. I just tried to take care of them the best I could, and it wasn't to happen. Now, why in the world did I have a little newborn baby rabbit in my hand? Let's go through the events of the day and how they ended up going to my house instead of remaining out there in the field, which is where I intended to leave them. So let's go through the other part of the day. Now, the first thing is I had run over their nest, exposed them into harm's way, and I moved the nest not once but twice into what I thought were safer and safer parts of the property close to the original nest so that the mother rabbit could find them and hopefully move them to a more appropriate location other than where I was working. And even with that, I didn't plan on going back into that area for a while. I could have worked well around that nest and left them alone, and I decided to do just that. The other video that I did make that same day was the one where I talked about clearing out the apartment field behind me here. That video was great. The day was wonderful. I had no doubt that the mother rabbit would get back there and attend to her babies and everything would be great. After I finished that video, however, I decided to make a two-part series on clearing out what I call Shady Field back here. Shady Field is through this gate, and there's a bunch of trees in there. I propose to call it Shady Field. But let's get back here to what happened. During the first part of that video, I never shot the second part, and I'm never going to finish that before and after video because I find it to be painful to go through that memory of what happened during the day. While I was making the first part of that video, I heard thunder, the wind was kicking up, I saw lightning strikes taking place around the property, off property, but in areas close to me, and that storm was coming in pretty fast. I didn't even have enough time to get to the barn behind me here, but that's where I took refuge. Before I got there, it was already raining, and as soon as I got inside, it came down. It was a deluge. It came down very, very hard for about 5 or 10 minutes, and the whole time I'm just wondering, I hope that those rabbits get their babies and moved them to a more appropriate location. But as soon as the rains died down enough, I ran back there to go check on the rabbits, and I was heartbroken to find that one of the bunnies was submerged in water. I pulled it out of the water, and I figured he was done. That was there was no way he survived that. And then the other rabbit was not in a puddle, but he was in a big muddy mess, and I'm like, that's not good either. And I don't know how long he was submerged at all either. So I scooped them both up at that point because there was no way they were going to survive another 5 or 10 minutes out there. It was just not going to happen. They were going to expire right then and there. So I put them both in my hand. I had my gloves on. I had them both in my hand, and I started petting both of them, basically trying to give them like a CPR because the one was not breathing. I didn't see its chest moving at all. The other one was moving, but not that much. So I started doing like baby rabbit CPR on them, just chest compression kind of things, just petting them nice and light, but putting a little bit of pressure on them to kind of, hopefully they'll spit up whatever water they may have ingested. Hopefully they still have a chance. Drowning is a brutal beast, and for humans or animals, and even though it's supposed to be a relatively calm way to go, if I had the chance to save these rabbits, I was going to do it. I wasn't just going to let them go that way. So I was petting them, and as I was, both of them started breathing on their own. I still didn't think they were anywhere near out of the woods yet, because they had just had a lawnmower go over the top of their nest. One of them got hit with a thorn, had a little laceration in the back of its head. I have no idea what kind of trauma they went through from that part of the day. And then on top of that, they almost drowned in a puddle. Or maybe they were drowning in a puddle, but I pulled them out and I got them to breathe on their own. With that, there was nowhere I could have put them out there in the field that was not in harm's way. So I decided to take them into my house, keep them nice and warm, bundle them up, have them snuggle up together for warmth, keep them in a nice warm environment, nice dry warm environment. And then I ran out to the pet store and got what's called cat's milk, which is, I did research, and that's the appropriate nourishment to give them temporarily, but the idea is to get them back to mama as fast as possible. Now, by the time I got them, we got the nutrient for them, got them back inside, or got that back inside with the rabbits, it was pitch black outside. And there's just no way I was going to be able to reintroduce these rabbits out there in this field. It's just pitch black. You can't see your hand in front of your face out here. It's that dark. So what I did is I decided to hang on to them overnight, watch them, observe them. If they looked like they were looking for mama, to give them some nutrient, and I did. I fed them a very little bit. They didn't need much. They were fed well enough as it was. They were newborn babies. They were still, suckling up to mama. Everything was good. Other than that, so I would just give them just a little bit, just a couple of drops of nutrient, because what they really needed was mama's nutrients because they're so young. The idea was to, in the morning, take them and place them back out with mama in the nest, and hopefully, nature will take its course and they will be viable rabbits and they'll have a nice happy life out there in the field. However, unfortunately, with all the trauma that they went through and everything that had happened to them, they were not viable. They were not very interested in any nutrients whatsoever. And they really didn't make it through the night. One of them had passed away in the early morning, and the other one passed away shortly after that. So that's a heart-wrenching story of the two bunny rabbits. They did not make it, and I find that to be a crushing experience. Now, let me talk about the reason why I'm not out making this video out there in the overgrown field, and I can do that basically by showing you what's happening here in the more civilized part of the field. This is puddle back here. Ever since I've been up here at the property, I've never seen water in this puddle. I've seen it be a little bit dampish or whatever after a heavy rain or whatever, but it hasn't rained here in a little bit. It hadn't rained here at all today, but this thing here is still wet from the rains yesterday and last night. So that's very unfortunate. There is nothing back there in the field that is dry at this particular point. So, that's why I'm not out there in the overgrown field making this particular video. So anyway, so with that, it's very sad. I find it personally crushing. I find it very painful, the fact that, I did everything I could and it wasn't enough to help save these tiny rabbits, because I really want all the wildlife that's here to have the happiest, healthiest life that it can possibly have here on the property. I really love the animals that we have here, and I really want them to be very, very happy here as well. So anyways, so with that, until I catch you in the next video, take care and be well.